So when I put together what I was going to talk about today, I didn't know that the gospel and Susan's sermon was so similar to my introductory paragraph. I didn't know that, so here it goes. I've spent a lot of my adult life thinking about what it means to have enough. When I was a child, there was definitely not enough. My father's death early on left my mom, my sister, and I with a mountain of debt and no means of support. This meant the question always loomed, will there be enough? And the answer was usually no. There was not enough time for my mother to work as hard as she did to support the family and be the kind of mother I believed she wanted to be. There was not enough room in our tiny apartment. There was not enough resources to keep my neighborhood safe. There was not enough money for school clothes, shoes that fit, adequate health care, or healthy and nutritious meals. So, all of this left me determined to escape this state of not living with enough. So, as a young person, I kept my head down, my nose to the grindstone. That, combined with a lot of assistance from others just when I needed it the most, and some fortunate turns of fate, left me with a college degree, a teaching license, and a job with the Board of Ed. It wasn't going to make me rich, but there was no question it would provide enough. But much to my surprise, I was haunted by this feeling of not enough, and I was very concerned about that. I realized that the answer was not to get more, because I knew so many people who clearly had more, and they would tell me it wasn't enough. So I went on kind of a quest. Crystals, chanting, incense, singing bowls, Wicca, yoga, Rolfing, meditation, tarot card readings, hypnosis, you name it, I would try it. It wasn't all for nothing. In some of these I found, and still find, tremendous benefits. But too many of them turned out to be a disappointing parade of smoke and mirrors. And I was left with this unresolved feeling of not having enough. Then one day, a coworker decided to talk me into donating blood. And she did it in a way that really changed everything. She was telling me how good it would be for me to donate blood. She told me I'd get a little free checkup in the little trailer, and she started telling me it would lower my heart attack risk and all these things, and I said, we don't do bloodletting anymore, right? Medical science abandoned that. She said, no, not bloodletting. They only take a little bit, and it's okay. You have enough. And I said, wow, I can donate blood and survive it. I clearly have enough blood. So I decided to run with this idea, and I started looking for places to volunteer. A friend told me that an animal shelter was looking for volunteer dog walkers, and I said, no way, I'm afraid of dogs. And as soon as I said it, I thought about, why am I afraid of dogs? Because my grandfather was a big angry man. He had a big angry dog named Duke, who I was terrified of. Maybe I'm not afraid of dogs, maybe I'm just afraid of Duke. So I went to the animal shelter. I walked these dogs every Saturday morning with a wonderful group of people and these really, really happy dogs. And it felt good, and it felt like enough. And I wanted to test that out somewhere else. What else am I afraid of? I thought, singing in public. Where can I sing in public? Church. So I went to my local parish, and I sang very quietly in the pews. And one Sunday, I overheard a group of parishioners discussing a very big problem in the church. There was a very big problem. These people who met on Wednesday nights, they were a problem. They had to stop it. So I had to go on Wednesday night and see what was happening. It was a group of charismatics. And I saw crying, hollering, speaking in tongues, people falling on the ground, twitching. It was terrifying. I went every Wednesday night that I could. Because I had no fear of singing at the top of my lungs, because everyone was having visions and not paying attention to me. So that really worked for a little while until they noticed me coming every week, and they had questions like, you were baptized with water, but have you been baptized by the Holy Spirit? And when do you plan on getting your proper baptism? And then one day they handed me a flyer and said, this is when you're being baptized. Okay, I had no reason to conquer that fear, so I started going on Sundays, and I started singing with the regular choir, and that felt good, and that felt like enough. And then one day they handed me a box of envelopes and said I have to put money in it. And it made perfect sense to me why I had to put money in the envelopes. This wasn't Father Dooley with threats and extortion telling me Jesus was going to be unhappy if I didn't put money in. I would put money in because I was blessed by this church, I was blessed by the congregation, I was blessed by the choir, and I had enough, and I could share, and that was all awesome. So I might have started giving to resolve fears and address a feeling of not having enough, but that's not why I continued to give. I continued because once I truly realized I had enough, I was overwhelmed with gratitude. I had tremendous gratitude that my career enabled me not to just survive, but to thrive. That gratitude continues to this day when I look back and I think about all I've been able to do and experience, that I'm able to raise my children under very different circumstances than I grew up in. I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self, trust me, this is all going to be all right. But I know that's not the way it works. I can only look back and be grateful for the way all of this has unfolded. I searched online for some quotes about giving. I found some interesting ones, and whether these people actually said these things is probably questionable, but they sound nice. Anne Frank, no one has ever become poor by giving. Mahatma Gandhi, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Muhammad Ali, service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. But here's a quote from a source that I can stand behind, the Bible. Luke 6:38, give, and it will be given unto you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over will be put into your lap, for the measure you give will be the measure you get back. Giving wisely and generously, with blessings pouring down. That sounds pretty good. That sounds like more than enough. That sounds like grace. Thank you.